Last night was just nasty. I got into the tent. It was just raining, a little bit, and then it just started pouring right as I was starting to cook. I don't know how much water came down, but when I opened the door this morning, I found a drowned caterpillar. Unfortunately, the reality of rain like that and being in multiple days of rain, everything is wetter than I would like. I tried to use my headphones last night when I was going to watch Legion just because, don't want to make noise, don't know how close anybody might be over there. And I couldn't because of the moisture warning that it gives you. I'm just happy I can charge my phone this morning. This is why I have the waterproof pack plus the DCF water resistant stuff sacks. Plus, I've got my electronics and everything are in an ultra zip bag. I just started hearing booms off in the distance, so I hustled out to take care of my bathroom particulars. I'm in a dead spot, so in addition to being on that reroute around the easement, aka I'm not on blazes, and people were giving me kind of weird looks as I was walking through, I have no internet back here, so I can't even access a radar to see if there's anything big headed towards me. Just doing a tick check, and I found a little one. I got rid of him, but they're about the size of that. He was down on this part of my foot, and he hadn't really dug in, so I'm guessing I got him when I walked out to dig a cat hole. But makes me extra paranoid. I am talking to the trail angel Dori about getting some permethrin to treat layers. Unfortunately, that helps. That does a lot, but you still got to kind of be vigilant because there are areas that you're not covered. And plus, they warn you not to spray your underwear and other things. I think it's because they don't want you to have any of those, any wet tissue pressed up against permethrin, because you're supposed to only be exposed to it when it's dry, bonded on things, yada yada. So this is where I ended up last night. A little more slope than ideal, but it was workable. More vegetation that was ideal, and once I set up, I realized I had these thorn vines underneath, so I had to spend some time with my trowel getting rid of those. Thought I was hearing thunder off in the distance, and it got pretty dark, so I held for a little while thinking it might be like yesterday, and I could avoid packing up, starting out in a big storm. Seems to have missed me, though. So welcome to day 50, soaking wet and covered in ticks. Unfortunately, I can do and talk about a lot of different little tricks when it comes to moisture, but at the end of the day, it's, mitigation, not prevention. You get multiple days in the rain like this, there is just no way around. Things are going to get increasingly wet. At some point, you have to have a source of drying, whether that is just a dryer, less humid weather, a fire, a hotel with an air conditioner, sunshine, etc. Yesterday I was relatively okay, but the 2 big storm periods I went through, combined with all the wet vegetation, did a number on everything. All of the down trees and wet plants has had me very appreciative of any length of road walks, even if it was a slightly less than great one like this. I mean, it was fine as far as walking. It's just some of the spots I was passing through had me on edge a little. So I haven't had cell reception since yesterday afternoon sometime. Last plan with Dori was she was going to pick me up later in the afternoon so I could get some miles in. Of course, then I was like, oh yeah, ideally I want to push it and get picked up late. At the moment, I would be quite happier to come in a little earlier. It looks like I have another trail section up ahead, and then I get into Sulphur Springs. I think that is her general vicinity. So, play it by ear, but probably mid-afternoon at the latest, get picked up, because it'll take me a while to clean up, and if she was going to make dinner, I don't want to mess with anybody's sleep schedules. This is actually the tail end of Pike State Forest. I was technically on National Forest land where I was camping. Turns into private property somewhere around here. Once I pass through Sulphur Springs, the trail actually takes a dip to the southeast, and it looks like just to go through Shawnee State Forest, which I hear is really pretty. And for the most part, when I've hiked sections like that, it has not been a case of, oh, I wish that I hadn't done that, other than, the time factor. Tom had also mentioned that Shawnee was generally considered the toughest part of the Buckeye, just with the up and down involved. I was talking to one of the guys behind who is about to get into Ohio, and he was asking how Ohio compared with West Virginia. And I said, Ohio has felt harder in general. And he was surprised because, you know, mountainous state, West Virginia, he thought Ohio would probably be easier. But it's not really the gain. The gain on something like dolly sods was cake, you know, just go up, easy slope, easy road. It's just been the mud and the trail bits through here. And they're also really pretty and really scenic, but you know, if you're sliding, if you're taking 2 steps up and sliding 1 down, that just takes a lot more time. And this is where the Buckeye detour comes back in. Nothing like having even more complicated mileage math, because I try and keep track of what I'm actually hiking, not just report the red line miles if I'm doing shorter, or vice versa. So if you've ever been out in the rain to the point where you're just sodden and it doesn't matter anymore, that's basically how I was feeling yesterday. Not just due to the rain, but also due to the sweat and the dirt and everything. Just kind of all in and shoving forward. By the end of the day, I was pretty miserable. But once I get the tent set up and get inside of it, I have dry layers and things get better. Even if it is not the most pleasant campsite, it is still far happier once I'm actually inside. Hence why when I have a bad day, I tend to just put my head down and go, just got to get to the tent, just got to get to the tent. And then the next morning, usually things look better. And if they don't, 2 cups of coffee usually makes them feel a little better. When I first started doing through hikes on the PCT, I used to get a lot more upset by whatever, you know, misery was going wrong right at the time. Because, you know, you're in a 100-degree heat wave for 4 days. That feels like an eternity. However, the good thing of having come through however many different types of crises is it both makes you confident that this too shall pass, along, which is the good side, along with, oh, and it's going to get so much more complicated and probably so much worse in some completely different way. You know, in another week, I'll probably be in a heat wave or something, struggling with water or God knows what. Hey, free bowling ball. At least how it has generally worked for me is I just look at it. It's like with climbing. When I would be leading some sort of mountaineering route with participants, if I had somebody that was really nervous, I would usually get up on the pitch with them, get them to just stop and say, okay, well, where you are now, are you secure? Do you feel like you can sit here for a minute? And once you get to that point, it's like, okay, well, now having gotten to that, how about if you just do this little move, this little move? And before you know it, you're through and on to the next crisis. Granted, those fine folks all had the advantage of me babbling at them to distract them from impending mortal peril / misery. The dog encounters have gotten noticeably more numerous in this last section. John from Hiking America was mentioning that all the reports were basically from this one section I was going through. And it seems like the worst incidents that I've run into have been from houses more on the trashier end of the spectrum. So when I start seeing, you know, abandoned piles of trash sitting everywhere, I start paying attention a little more. Versus nicer houses, they have money to spend on those invisible fences, I guess. Those have become a lot more numerous, and I have been very appreciative of those. So I'm not sure if it's just the area, if it's the invisible fence type tech becoming more prevalent, or if it's just people becoming aware of kind of their liability. Jen and I have USAA as insurance, and they just sent out a note to all policyholders basically reminding them that, hey, you are liable if your dog hurts anybody. So basically keep them under control. I guess most of the dog issues that Jen or I have run across are either the neglectful, abusive people, you know, with a more aggressive breed, or else the people where they have a dog and they basically treat it like their child, talk to it, and they think it's more rational. And invariably it's, oh, don't worry, he's friendly, because the dog's friendly to them. But you have a smelly hiker with a hoodie and a ball cap, it really seems to trigger dogs. I've had so many cases where somebody claims that he only does that when it's a hiker. And I'm not talking about the tails wagging, just barking and making a ton of noise as a warning sort of behavior. Those, once the initial, oh, this is what's going on, hits, no big deal. I'm talking about the ones that just snarl and come at you, or like a couple of these. They're doing the relatively non-aggressive thing until they get behind you. Jen almost ended up with a bite in her tendon at a campground a couple of years back when that happened. And she, of course, loves animals and was talking to it and was all happy while cooking, and then it just kind of snapped at her. And dog bites are a nasty thing to deal with out here. And once again, if I hadn't stopped where it stopped, there was much easier camping on this section. So hard to tell though, the trail just goes basically straight up here. And from yesterday, a lot of this was so heavily vegetated, there was just no way. You know, there's not even enough bare ground to set up on and smash some plants. And welcome to the taters moment of the day. Pretty sure these guys were why the AT was her favorite of the trails. Okay then. And here we go again. Missed another turn. Yeah, missed the turn, Blaze. I had reception and I was dictating on my phone. So the noise is from some sort of Christian youth camp. They have also host hikers and have allowed people to get showers and whatnot. I actually debated trying to get here, but once again, just the days didn't divide up correctly. That's what I'd been missing, a mud slip and slide. So the blazes actually go in multiple directions here. No idea what's going on. Oh, freaking spider webs. This is actually the sketchiest part of the trail. This wood, when it's wet like this, becomes incredibly slippery. I'm so ready for a road walk at the moment. Oh, crap. That's funny. I was in the trees, I was getting periodic sunshine. Assumed it was better weather. Just got reception and got a bunch of lightning warnings. Okay, so considering the weather in my current state and the miles to Peebles, new plan, Dori's gonna pick me up there, take me over to Peebles. I get the box today, and I'll just have a little bit of a heavier carry for this next section. And it just had some nice person give me a tenderloin sandwich as I trigger every local dog in town. Really timed this, didn't we?
Yeah.
Dori is a trail angel extraordinaire for the Buckeye, the ADT, and the North Country Trail. She came and got me and let me clean up at her house after getting my package from Peebles. She also fed me several home-cooked meals and got me some permethrin to help deal with the ticks. I also just had a ball talking with her and her husband for hours. And considering I am now seeing more ticks. Okay, and that should be a little better. I even got to briefly meet their Amish neighbors. By the time it was time to go to bed, my batteries were charging, I was dry and clean at long last, and feeling quite full.